Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to speak to you about fostering API productization in federated API architecture. Uh, this topic is central to all the modern enterprises, how they're trying to scale, monetize, and try to build their own intelligence, right? And I think banks are the best example to this because banks in all the geographies they're doing all these transformations around intelligence, around scale, around new platforms for last couple of years, right? Now, Arthur C. Clarke once said that in the future people will not commute, they will communicate, and I think that future is here, right? Uh, these days, if you see in every line of business, be it bank, healthcare, pharma, telco, right? Everywhere we see customers, they want to communicate, they want to have a dialogue with the organization, with the service provider, right? So it's not about checking your balances or checking your network, right? Or how many talk times we have, or how much loan I have, how much data I have. It's all about communication, conversation, right? Now, if I see as a product lead in AI and API banking and Axis Bank, right? Uh, and predominantly for last uh, 7 8 years I'm in banking, right? And mostly around APIs or AI. One thing I have seen that the nature of customer communication has got changed. Earlier they would love to have one-way communication, but nowadays they want to have an interaction, right? They want instant gratification. They want uh, quick resolution to all of their queries. They need insights about their accounts, about their relation with the bank, right? And I think AI and API both are not just an enabler to all this, right? They are the actual transformer. They're actually changing the business, right? Now, if I go to the main topic, but before that, a quick summary about me. I myself, Abhijit Day, I'm part of API Days community. This is third time I'll be speaking in any of the API Days conference. Last year also I was in Singapore, and this year also I'll be there. Uh, the topic again, going back to the main topic, right? Fostering API productization in federated API architecture, right? I know the topic is little stretchy, but trust me, that subject itself is very depth. So that's why for next couple of minutes we'll be going through. We'll delve into how, especially in financial institutions, how we are transforming into AI and API. Before we go to that agenda, let me ask you a question. What if I tell you customers, they or I mean the future of banking, right? Now the future of banking or the future of customer experience in banking is not only about moving money, it's all about moving conversation, right? Now, keeping that theme in our mind, I mean, these are the agenda that we'll be talking about. One is that federated API management and empowering agility. The second one is federated API for product mindset. Third one is innovate and develop API product. AI agents, obviously, if we are talking about API, AI, agents shouldn't be left over, right? They need to be discussed. Nowadays, AI and agentic AI both are symbiotic in nature, right? And especially when you are into a large transformation program, right? And the last one will be a case study where agentic AI powered conversation banking with federated API, right? We'll see a couple of example how a conversation can be powered by AI agents and how can that action be completed, right? Now, when we talk about federated API management and how it empowers agility, right? If you see, even in this conference also, there will be many speakers who will be talking about federated API, right? Because when we started that APIM or API management, I mean, initially all those microservices or monolithic architecture was getting transformed into multiple APIs, API gateways, right? Now, if you see, there are many organizations where we need multiple gateways, and all these multiple gateways need to be managed, monitored, and governed by a single platform, and that platform could be federated API management platform, right? I know there are many players in the market who are contributing towards that. I'll not take any names here, but uh, honestly, this federated API management has changed the life of many digital transformation lead, right? Because whenever we think about innovation, innovation happens in a very decentralized way. We just cannot control innovators, or we just cannot control the technologies to innovate. But there should be a centralized governance. This centralized governance comes from federated API management, right? That's why federated API management will encourage you, will empower you to agility. Let's see what it is actually, right? And why we should go for federated API management. Now, the first point is that consistent governance, right? And it has a centralized standard. Across your organization, there can be multiple applications. There can be hundred or thousand of applications, and all these applications must be running on a particular standard, right? Now, each of these application standards can be calculated to one single standard, right? And that standard can be provided by the federated API management, which will give you a consistent governance, right? So the second one is the preferred environment, right? Flexibility is one thing that you really require, because nowadays you see the technology is changing in every seconds, right? In last 3 4 months, especially about AI, it all started Gen AI, then agentic AI, then MCP came. Now agentic AI experience has come, right? We are not only talking about developer experience or customer experience. We are nowadays talking about agent experience. Now, how this agentic experience or AI experience will be built if you don't have a flexibility of environments, right? So in federated API management, we have that preferences, we have that flexibility. Uh, Now the third one is reduce central burden, right? Now again, uh, if I have multiple teams working towards the same goal, right? Now there should be decentralization. I mean, the workload should be divided into multiple cohorts, right? And if you're running multiple cohorts, again, the centralized governance should be there. The reusability of API, definitely that innovation comes from reusability, right? I mean, if we have built one API today, that API catalog and everything should be available so that we can reuse, right, to innovate. The fourth one is, no, again, central and decentralized. We already have covered it, right? The last one is the fault tolerant design, right? Now, in federated API management, it boosts resiliency, right? It boasts not only resiliency, it also boasts the stability and scalability. If you have built something today, it can be augmented, it can be continued for next couple of years, and you can keep on building on it, right? It has a very spiral deployment capacity in federated API management. Let's see how it works, right? So the first one is decentralized API ownership, right? Maybe in this intersection, centralized and decentralized will be the most sought after words, or most talked about words after AI and API, right? Now, team autonomy, where independently team can manage APIs, right? Decision making can be done by the team. There will be no control. I mean, there will be no burden, or there will be no restriction around it. But this has to be driven by a single framework, and this framework comes through a federated API management, right? Now, this decentralized API ownership gives you freedom. It gives you more clarity about your own work, right? Because nowadays, if you see in almost all the organizations, we have multiple teams working towards innovation and all. Right? Now, how this decentralized API ownership work? It work on a centralized API gateway. So there will be a centralized API gateway that will be the backbone of multiple external API gateways, and this centralized gateway will control all these multiple API gateways, right? Now, the second one is consistent governance. So policy, practices, standards, everything will be written in this federated API management, and from there it will be controlled, right? It will be monitored, it will be implemented from federated APIM. Third one is collaborative development. If there is a if there is a teacher who is actually holding the pen, and if that teacher is say, asking all of his students to follow the discipline to be governed by the teacher, right? Obviously all the students in the class, they will talk to each other, they will collaborate, they will co-build things, right? And when they will co-build the things, who will be monitored there, who will be monitoring there, who will be checking that whether things are built in a correct way or not? Now that teacher is federated API management here, right? The fourth one is monitoring analytics. I mean, in any APIM, it comes as a package that you will have a monitoring analytics tool. And the last one is continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is one thing that is really required these days, because the way technology is changing, the way a new every new day we are getting new technology built and all, it's really required, right? Now, I'll move on to the next one, where how we can actually create a product mindset around federated environment, right? So there are two things: core principle and benefits, right? Now, in core principle, it has to be a user-centric approach, right? And if you ask me precisely, it should be a developer-centric approach. The second one is iterative development, right? Continuous improvement should be going on. The third one is cross-functional collaboration, where we can create a team synergy. The fourth one is metrics-driven decision. I mean, every decision in any organization nowadays are data powered, right? Data driven decision is one thing that we all are working, right? And especially in the era of AI, we all know that without data we just cannot decide over anything. Now, the last one is value delivery, but before that, I'll tell you one thing about product, right? How why API is a product, probably that we all know in this room, because uh, I mean, people who are working around API, we don't think API is merely an endpoint, right? It's a complete product. It has a complete product life cycle. Triple D, like domain driven design, is powering that thought process. But the problem here is that whenever we are thinking about a product, our mindsets are still into the developer mindset, right? So we need to break that barrier. We need to think about that now. APIs are becoming, I mean, are now a product. We'll have to conceptualize it, we'll have to develop it, and at certain point of time we need to decay it, right? And the last one is value delivery. Value delivery is that it should be a tangible benefit. uh, if you ask me, since I do banking for my living, I know how important money is, how important benefit and profit is, right? uh, Precisely revenue, right? Now, whenever we are building anything, developers, sometimes we build it with a zeal that, I mean, we'll do something new, we'll create some magic, right? But whenever a business guy, I mean, a product guy builds something, the first and foremost thing come to your mind that whether this change will create any difference to either my customer's life or my organization's life, right? So there should be a tangible benefit, and that actually power us to build and innovate something new, right? Now, about the benefit, right? It enhance the agility, it increase innovation, it gives a higher satisfaction, right, to the developer community, to the customers, to the entire organization. So as a whole, federated API management has a very holistic benefit, across the ecosystem. Now, how we develop API product, right? The first one is that if you see, there are five different layers in an organization. On your left, API product managers, they are holding the centralized control plane. Here we are doing innovation, we are doing the product catalog. Here is the discovery tool, or the discovery layer is also here. Authentication happens here, and policies are built here, right? Probably this is the most critical platform where uh, that entire management happens, the entire rule engine is getting built, right? Or managed, and at the same time it is being managed by the API product managers. Now, the second layer is API governance managers, right? They are actually, uh, so product managers and governance manager both are uh, working together in this control plane. Ops manager and developers are working on that multiple API gateways, the data plane where the actual unstructured data or structured data are kept, and there are decentralized data plane also, right? So the data part is being managed here. The last one is the analytics team. Precisely, there are three layers, but we are broken into five. Now, in analytics team, they monitor, analyze, meter, and metrics, right? So here we are actually seeing the performance of the API. We are actually seeing whether these APIs are working well or not, whether there is any latency or not, right? How this API has been adopted in the industry, if there are any propensity to become to have a shadow or zombie API or not, right? Now, all these managements happening in one together platform, right? And this is Federated API architecture. And this is how we have built it in our way. Now, we'll talk about a case study, right? Now, the case study is agentic AI powered conversation banking with Federated API, right? So if I say it together, agentic AI powered conversation banking with Federated API, right? We'll see how it enhance the customer experience. But before that, I mean, on the next slide, I'll showcase two. I mean, one diagram, one architecture, and one fictitious conversation, right? And we'll try to uh, create a relation between these two. Right? Here it is. If you see on the left, just suppose in your banking app you have a conversational platform, right? And in that conversational platform there are agents, multiple agents working, right? One of the agent, it triggers before you go to that conversation platform. An agent, it triggers that, hey, you just have made a credit card transaction of 40,000 rupees, and it seems that it's little out of the line based on your spending pattern. Do you want me to convert it into EMI? You will not feel the pinch, right? So this communication, this conversation, this verbiage, it all depends on persona, right? Right now, how this user persona will be built and all, probably in the network diagram I'll show you. But the first is that the communication, right? How the communication initiated. Now, suppose you have said yes, right? I mean, probably you need not to say yes because it's an agent. It can itself do this transaction. But since we are in banking, we need to put some guardrail. We need to put some consent. We need to put some authentication. That's why we are keeping it this way, right? Otherwise, it can be a complete one way, right? Now, suppose you have said yes. That agent will accept it, and it will figure which is the best suited offers for you, which is the best suited um, EMI tenure for you and at the rate of interest. And it will tell you that awesome, 40,000 is now on 3 months EMI at 13%, easy on your wallet, right? Now, again, after a few days, it will send you a reminder that 7,100 EMI is due for 18th April. Need a nudge or want to close early, right? Now, if you want to close it early, you want to foreclose it, you can say, and that EMI will be closed. Now just imagine the same kind of conversation happening into a travel app, or into your, or maybe one agent that is being designed and developed for you, and it is there in your mobile banking app, and that agent is running in the back end all the time, and it is checking your calendars, it is checking your travel itinerary, it is checking your your banking insights and all, and it is taking actions and suggestions in every moment in your life, right? The same thing we can build with the help of agentic AI, right? Now how it can be happen, if you see, it starts with a customer feedback loop where customer actually enters that I need this or I need that, or maybe that agent itself will nudge you with some offerings or actions, right? And in the second layer there will be an AI model. It can be an LLM, right? Or maybe any AI ML model, but precisely since we all are working on LLM, I mean, let it be LLM only. And it will have a conversational AI agent. Now both these two working together, whenever any nudge coming from the customer, whenever any feedback coming from the customer, it will ask the Federated API management tool, right? That tell me what all APIs need to be called. If I mean, share all the insights from here. It will identify which API to call, and Federated APIM is connected with the LOBs, right? Suppose this information we have fetched, agents have fetched, right? Now there will be a dynamic UI. Now, why I'm saying dynamic UI is required here, because as I told you, one agent can fit into any conversation platform. It can be a WhatsApp, it can be your regular chatbot, it can be your conversational app, right? And that's why we need to design one dynamic UI, and this dynamic UI will be built by the agent itself, right? Now, after the agent layer, right, we got um, all the required information through the API, right? We got the balance inquiry detail, last statements, and everything. Then it will create a personal insights. It will generate real-time updates, and with this communication channel, it will send it back to the customer. So these personal insights, recommendations, real-time updates, all are required these days, because nowadays, as I told you, my question was that people these days, for them, banking is not only moving money, right? Not only about moving money, it's about moving conversation. They want to have a dialogue with the banks, right? Now, and I mean, they want to hear more from us, right? They want to hear about their financial insights, about some recommendations, about how to better their financial health. So all this comes from this insights layer, and agents maintain it, right? So this one case study is which might help you to go build your agentic layer for your customers, right? If you're into banking domain, or it can work in any organization, in any layer. Especially e-commerce and quick commerce has a huge impact on it, right? Maybe with your grocery and all, you can manage, an agent can manage your entire grocery through this. Now, uh, the second last one, or probably the last one, that how do we summarize this entire session, right? One is that we need to empower our decentralized innovation, right? And it should be controlled, and it should be monitored rather by a centralized platform, which will be Federated API management platform. We need to maximize our API product value. We should have a very uh, defined, clear API strategy. There are many speakers in this session. We'll be talking about API strategies. I know there are many stalwarts here. We should follow there. We should gather some knowledge from there, right? Even I'll be also gathering. The fourth one is that we need to engage with our stakeholders for continuous improvement, right? Especially in agentic era, we just cannot stop at one certain point, right? Continuous improvement, continuous development is required, and I hope we all are onto this. Uh, so the last one is that how we can build agents, right? How we can build agents on Federated API management platform, and probably this few slides will would have helped you on this, right? So federate, innovate, and elevate your API products. That's what I'd like to say at the end. And I hope this session been helpful for all of you, and hope to meet you soon in API Day Singapore tomorrow. And I'd be happy to meet you all there. Thank you.